Replacing DPFs on a Detroit one box. First, remove the side fairing. Next, remove this sensor. Next step, remove these heat shield screws. Lift up, push in, take off to expose your DPFs. These are your DPFs you're going to be replacing. You also need to take out these heat shield screws back here. You don't have to remove this back heat shield completely, but it needs to be loose or else you won't be able to get that second DPF out. Next step, 15 millimeter socket here, 13 millimeter socket here. Loosen up your band clamps. I usually take a pry bar and a hammer and I hit down on that side to break this one loose. And then I'll do the same thing in here. Try to catch the edge of this clamp down inside here. Kind of hammer on it to break it loose. Once you get your clamps broken loose, I move this right band clamp, the V band clamp, over to the right of that sensor port. And then you want to lift up and out to get your DPFs out of there. These are hot, so be careful, and they're a bit heavy and fragile, so don't drop them. Since you can see this better, I'll show you on this side. What I mean by hammering the clamp is on this one, get a pry bar on the clamp as where it meets the actual DPF and DOC, and hammer that up that way to pop it loose. So this rear one can be a bear. This is the way I normally do it. Either I move this clamp all the way to the left so that it's out of the way and I can move this side out of there, or I drag it so that it's in the middle so I can pull it out. But then these V clamps are supposed to be reusable. I recommend replacing them, but the way I get the back one out is I move the top part over to the side and I take this one and I crank it down, because what you have to do is basically drag it out and then lift it up and over. And that's why you have to have this heat shield loosened in order to get it out. So it can be a bear, but that's the way I normally do it. So I have here the DPFs removed. This was the outer one, that was the inner one. This is the inlet side where the soot comes into the DPF. This looks fairly normal. This is how they're going to look. This is the dirty side. This, however, is the back side, the side that the flat clamp is on. This should be clean. This right here indicates a failed DPF. This DPF is no good. If you look on the back side of this one, this also, even though it's minimal, indicates a bad DPF. I replaced the fuel injectors on this truck, and now the DPFs have failed because too much fuel was getting into the after treatment system and burned up these DPFs. So I have both DPFs removed, and what I'm going to do next is what is best practice, which if you want to take care of your one box, your truck, what you ought to do, but is not necessarily a must. So I have that backside blocked off with a special tool. If you don't have that, you can block it off with something else. And I have here where the exhaust actually comes into the truck, I've removed that pipe and I have a shop vac inserted into that pipe where the exhaust comes into the one box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use compressed air, and I'm just going to backflow this DOC. And what I'm doing is I'm getting all the soot and ash that's collected on the front of this DOC, basically cleaning this DOC myself. So I plug up that side so that the compressed air doesn't come back around to this side, because these are connected. So I'm plugging up that side so it creates the proper suction back up to the intake where my vacuum is. I'm going to blow out this side with the compressed air all the way around. Then I'm going to switch. I'm going to block off this side, and I do the same thing to that side. before installing the new DPFs, make sure if you plan on resetting the DPF ash accumulator data in Detroit that you have your serial number for your DPF, which is this 124 number here. Make sure you get it off the old and the new. There it is on the old, there it is on the new. You go watch my other video I have for resetting the DPF data for that. I have the inner DPF in place. Put this clamp in here first. I set it in to all the way to the left. This time I've had this clamp wrapped around here because I replaced the clamp, but if you reuse the old one, I just leave it bend down, put it in, etc. This is a DPF tool that helps you center these, because these are this is the most critical thing you got to remember on these, is that they are very susceptible to leaking here if you don't align them correctly. So it's very important that we align them correctly. So that's what I'll be doing next. Don't forget to take out your old gaskets and replace them with new ones. So here's how I use this little tool. You get it underneath the center of your DPF so that it kind of cradles it on that part, because it is just, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to get this inlet side especially lined up. So it can look good right here from one angle, but it could be still way off at the top or the bottom or the back. So what you should do is get your clamp off of there as much as possible and really try to look in and make sure that that inlet lip here and here is level and there's no lip on there, and it's parallel, or what's the word I'm looking for, just looks the same on both sides. That's the most common places for it to leak, and it's very difficult to get that lined up just right. So make sure you take your time and work on that to get that lined up just right, and then tighten down this clamp so it doesn't move. All right, I have that inner DPF installed, which of course is the one you have to do first. And just another word on these clamps. So right here, when you look in between the clamp here, on the DOC outlet and the DPF inlet, that lip, you should not see a lip. You shouldn't see, big difference between your DPF and where it's mounted to. If you see a gap there or a lip there, you got a problem, and it's most likely going to leak. So be careful, watch out for that. That's an indication that something's wrong. Secondly, if you look at this clamp, you can see that it's fairly unison, the gap between this side of the clamp and the DPF. All the way down, same thing on this side, a unison gap. If your clamp is cockeyed or crooked, or this gap next to it doesn't look right, something's wrong as well. All right, so you tighten that one down, come over here to this side. You want to make sure that your clamp is unison on the DPF. It's not cockeyed in the back, kicked out that way. You tighten that one down. One other important thing about this back clamp is right at that position where it's at there is where you want it. Because if you put this clamp down lower, you're going to run into the problem that when you put on this new clamp, or this front clamp, that it won't go down far enough. And what happens is, if you have this one down further, the back one, this one won't fit where it is right now. You'll have to install it a little bit higher, and then when you tighten it down, this is sticking up. When you go to put that heat shield on, it'll hit this. So right about where you see these clamps at, is about the height that you want them, so that the back one will go down, and then when you slide this one down, you'll have plenty of room for that front heat shield so that it doesn't hit on your clamp. Here again is the front DPF, and just an example of how you really want to focus on getting those lined up correctly. Once you have your DPFs installed, put everything back together. I can do it. Reset your DPF data and run a regen. Make sure nothing's leaking. Should be good to go. Don't forget to reattach that if you took it off to blow out those DOCs. That's it.